Keith.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. I'd like to open with a prayer. My name is Michelle. It's nice to see all your beautiful faces today. Thank you for coming. Our Heavenly Father, please help us to be victorious. Send your heavenly host to guide us and help us secure a victory against our oppressors. God, be with each and every one of us to be courageous and fight with integrity, that we may know the truth, that we may speak the truth, and that others may hear the truth. God bless everyone here today. God bless Dr. Shiva as he runs for U.S. Senate, and all of the volunteers and all of the people that are supporting him in this nation and world, and that our leadership may see the right on our side and be swayed. Lord Jesus Christ's name, amen. I'm going to be the MC today. Sorry. Maybe I'll step back. I'm going to be the MC today. Don't hold it. I'm not holding it. What do I do? Okay. So I'm going to be the MC today for this event. We'd like to welcome everyone once again. And our first person that's coming up is one of our volunteers, Jerry Payne. He has been very helpful for the campaign for the Shiva for Senate. We'd like to welcome him on the stage right now to say a few words.
How y'all doing? My name is Jerry Payne and I'm from Texas. I came here all the way just to volunteer and help Dr. Shiva win this historic event. I can't tell you how much my life has changed since I volunteered and help and do things. I'm the designated barbecue guy, by the way, in case you guys know. I put 3 barbecues on for him. In fact, that's how I met Dr. Shiva. So I was depressed at the beginning of this year when they shut everything down, and I have a place in Billerica right on the lake, and I throw these big parties So I cooked brisket, I smoked brisket, and nothing, social distancing, masks, all that stuff. It was crazy. So finally, we're getting wind that they're going to allow us to go out and do stuff. It's the end of May, and I finally said, okay, I'm driving to work, and literally a voice in my head said, you got to have a party. You got to have a party. So I decided to throw a party. And I called the party the Social Distancing Olympics in Texas Barbecue. And I made this flyer. And I was sending this flyer out to all my buddies from work. And I was just sending it out, texting it to them. And all of a sudden, Dr. Shiva's name popped up in my contact list because I put his phone number in there from one of his videos on the immune system. The guy amazed me about his expertise on the immune system. So I put his name in there and I said, Dr. Shiva. So I just texted him one. And then about 20 minutes later, he texted me back. He said, sounds like fun. What should we bring? And it amazed me. It amazed me a guy like this would even respond to my text. So the next thing I know, I tell him where it's at. So he shows up in the bus, parks across the street at my neighbor's house. It was hilarious. They come over there. Michelle comes, Richard comes, Jeremy comes, Richard's wife and daughter came. And we just had a wonderful time. And the next thing I know, Michelle hooks me in. She just sucks me in. And I'm a sector leader right off the bat. She just sucked me right in. And I've been working for the campaign since. And I have a regular job. I work Monday through Thursday, about 50 hours a week. And then the rest of the time, I work for Dr. Shiva. And it's the best thing I've ever done in my life. And I see all these people out here that I've met. And all these people from all walks of life, and they're all focused on one thing. They're focused on Dr. Shiva because he's the light. He's the light that's going to get us out of what we're in right now. He is the light, folks, and you are the light. You are the light for Dr. Shiva. So that's how I met Dr. Shiva. He's an extraordinary man, and I'm going to do all I can to get him elected September 1st. We all got to get out there and get him in September 1st because that's key. But anyway, my name's Jerry Payne. I'm from Texas. I came all the way here just to volunteer and help Dr. Shiva. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Next, I'd like to introduce two women that are nurses, and they have combined over 90 years experience nursing. Give it up for Ann and Deb. And this is the No Forced Vaccinations Rally.
Oh, thank you. It's so great to see everybody. Everybody in my family thinks I'm crazy because I don't like vaccines, so I feel like I'm among friends and family. So, because I've been a nurse for 55 years, and I met my friend 2 days ago at a rally for Shiva in Lynn. I'm Ann Holly, and I've been a registered nurse for 45 years as well. So we have over 90 years experience, and there's a saying that says, the older you are, the further up the hill you are, you're able to see further back in time. So that brings us to 1975, when we graduated, when it really was healthcare. It wasn't sick care as we know it today. And patients got multivitamins in an IV. You actually took care of them when they had a gallbladder rather than getting them out of the hospital in 24 hours. We all learned about vaccines in nursing school, but we didn't know what was in vaccines. I truly thought it was just saline in the virus. So I had to retire 5 years ago from nursing because I had mandated flu vaccines and got really sick and almost died. But it wasn't from the vaccine. No, of course not. So that's when my eyes got opened and I did a 180 paradigm shift, and I realized all the junk that's in vaccines. And the most disturbing, or two disturbing things, was one, aborted fetal cells, because you can only divide those fetal cells 16 or 17 generations before they turn cancerous. And did you know that on one of the pediatric black box warnings on the inserts of the vaccines that you will never see, it says may cause childhood leukemia. I have a friend whose son is just fighting that right now. The other disturbing ingredient in a vaccine is polysorbate 80. And I thought to myself, why is that in the vaccine? They use that in chemotherapy to cross the blood-brain barrier. And then the light went on, and I went, oh my gosh, that's why the aluminum and the thimerosal is causing brain inflammation. So that was the beginning. So I first saw Dr. Shiva on Instagram last November because I was looking at what I want to know more about the immune system that we didn't learn in school, and it was an eye-opener. And I bet many of my colleagues that I work with don't know what he knows. Do you want to talk about?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I just want to say there's a lot of misinformation out there about Dr. Shiva. I love everything he has to say about vaccines and just what's happened to our environment with water, air, everything. He's pro-life from the moment of conception, the sanctity of life from the moment of conception till natural death and everything in between. Pure water, pure food. Let's get rid of big pharma. You know, it's just a lot of stuff. And I was online and checking out everything. His YouTubes are great, but I thought I can't get behind him because he is pro-choice. It was a big lie. There's a scam out there that's saying that because they're afraid of him and the power he has because he is pro-life. He's for health from the first moment of conception, like I said, till natural death. So I rally behind him for that. Pro-life. God bless America. Yeah.
And there's a sign out there. So I want to tell you, when we had the first death in this country at a nursing home in Evergreen, Washington, and it happened in a nursing home, and I turned to my husband and I said, this for COVID this year, and I said, this is going to be cataclysmic because every patient in a nursing home or a skilled nursing facility has to have a mandated vaccine. And sure enough, what happened in New York when the COVID patients went back in there? And did you know that nursing home patients, they get the most money out of 3 months for the patient, and then they just get a regular rate? So they want turnover in a nursing home. There's so much crime associated with that. So this past fall, the flu vaccine was a new super senior vaccine. It's a quadrivalent. It was a 4-in-1. And it was made from dog kidney cells. And dogs naturally carry coronavirus. And it was distributed throughout the world. So this was planned. So that's what we know. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you. Next up, I'd like to invite Dr. Robin Frost. Come on up. She came from Maine. She is a surgeon from Maine who's going to speak to us today at our Stop Forced Vaccinations rally.
Hi guys, it's really nice to be here. I've been to several rallies to support Dr. Shiva, and I'm here for several reasons. People ask me, why are you here from Maine? It's not going to help Maine. And I said, I really disagree, because I really think having Dr. Shiva in the U.S. Senate is going to make a difference for all of us, every state, the entire United States of America. And so when I first started traveling from Maine and back into Massachusetts and back, and my neighbors would watch me and make sure that I quarantined, which I didn't, but and make sure I was like wearing a mask outside. But basically, when I first came in contact with Dr. Shiva, it was very similar to Jerry. I was in March. My youngest is 12, and they sent her home from school. And I was very concerned. So I stumbled across the same immune health video, and I was just so surprised that he gave his number out. I thought, that can't be a real number. So like Jerry, I tucked that in my phone, and I actually called him, and he answered the phone. And I was like, what person running for a political office answers the phone? Nobody. He answered, he did. I was impressed. So that's why I'm here. Being around like-minded people like you makes it all better. That we we are ground floor. We're the hardworking class people that are being forgotten. We need to come together. We need to work together, and we have more numbers than them. And we know that Dr. Shiva is going to get us there. We know with his guidance and his bravery, he doesn't have to do this, and he chooses to do this. I'm sure a lot of people around him, like, it's hours and hours of work, and he's doing it because he really, really cares. And he really cares, so he called me because he cares about a colleague of mine from the state of Maine. She unfortunately, all she was trying to do was to help her patients. She was educating them on, the pros and cons of using a mask. She was educating them on vaccines and forced vaccines. And she was educating them on supplemental treatment other than one-size-fits-all medicine. Because she cares. Because as a physician, we took an oath to do no harm. And unfortunately, our government is dictating how we practice. And that's not okay. And they're dictating how you guys are being treated. And that's not okay. So my colleagues stepped out and made a stance just to help, was fired from her job. She would be here today, but unfortunately, she is fighting to keep her medical license because there are complaints against her medical license, so she's obligated to respond and make sure they don't take her license away. So, and the fact is that as they watch her and she goes from Massachusetts and back into Maine, they'll make sure that she quarantines and such. So that is tragic. That type of situation that Dr. Shiva wanted me to share with you is tragic because not only are all of you being forced one direction, you can't go in the store and because of this mandated, not a law, you can't do that. You can't take care of your family. You can't walk outside and breathe the fresh air. Dr. Shiva will make a huge difference because we know that he stands for truth. That's what I admire about him at the beginning. It was not, we should stand for what we are for, not what we're against. And that's what I love about him. He stands about the truth. And he talks about the truth, the medical facts and what it is, so that we can be educated because we're all intelligent human beings and capable of making decisions for ourselves. And then he talks about our freedom. So if we don't have the truth, how do we ever have freedom? Because if we're lied to and we're made to act a certain way, we don't have freedom to make choices. And he certainly cares about our health. He cares about it so much that he's doing all of this and making this huge sacrifice, being paid because he is not the norm. And that is a hard job. I admire him for that. That is why I'm here. And I applaud all of you for being here. And let's go to the primaries and get him there so he can make a difference, guys. Love all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Frost. So next up we have Jen Bennett. She's coming. She's a mother and a mother-to-be. And she's one of our solid volunteers here on the Shiva for Senate campaign.
Good job.
Thanks, Michelle. I am the mother of a proud mother of an unvaccinated baby. And I can assure you, the baby in my belly will also not be vaccinated. I am someone who hates politics. Never in my life have voted in a primary, and never in a million years did I think that I would be so involved in a campaign. But 10 months ago, and I still have so much gratitude for whoever the mother was that on Instagram shared a health lecture that Dr. Shiva was going to be doing on beyond vax, anti-vax, beyond left and right. And I had no idea who Dr. Shiva was, but I'm like, I have to go learn about, I have to go meet the scientist. And I can still remember when I jumped out of the car because my husband was dropping me off. I ran out the door and I said, I'm so excited. I'm going to go find my people. So, for those of you who know Dr. Shiva, you know that he's an incredible teacher. He taught me political theory. He taught me systems thinking. And he gave me a deeper understanding of why our country and our world is the way that it is today. And most important, he gave me the courage to stand up and to start using my voice. And realize through all of this that one of the reasons why my state, our country, is in the mess that it is today is because I was guilty of putting my head in the sand and running away to the mountains because I just didn't want to deal with the politics. And I think many people here can relate, right? You hate politics, you hate the corruption, and just choose not to be involved. But because I made that choice not to be involved, I realized that all these corrupt politicians and bad lawyer lobbyists and big pharma companies were literally taking over our state, our country, our world, and affecting my choice and my voice as a mother. And I can honestly say that if it wasn't for Dr. Shiva, I would be terrified right now. And I don't know if anyone else here can relate. Without having his voice right now, we would all be screwed. And, yeah. But I know we're all here because I know today, because we're all conscious activists. And we know that we have to be leaders, right, of our communities. And we are at such an important point in history that we have to make a choice, right? We have to make a choice. Are we going to continue to elect the misleaders, the paid-off politicians, and the lawyers? Or are we going to elect a scientist, a doctor who has 4 degrees at MIT and is a leading scientist in the world on the immune system? I believe Dr. Shiva is an answer to all of our prayers. And he is a leader that we need in our state to protect Massachusetts, to protect the rest of the country, and future generations. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Shiva, the leader of
All right, it's time to win. We have to start winning. Every year we've got to start winning. We have a lot of people who want us to win. As Dr. Frost said, this movement, that sound right? This movement that we have created is based on 3 principles. What are they? Truth, freedom, and health. 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 These are 3 principles that this country was built on. And let me give you a little bit of history. Today, on this day, on August 23rd, in 1775, is when King George passed a proclamation saying that we were enemies of the crown. Did you know that? Today, on this day, we rose up. And on this day today, we're rising up because this forced vaccination nonsense is brought to you by another aristocrat, Charlie Baker, King Charlie Baker, and his Democrat friends. And we're not going to allow it because, that's right, because what's happened in this country is this country, and all of you out there, you need to listen to this, is becoming a caste system. It's becoming a caste system of a set of aristocrats and the rest of us. This is not Democrats versus Republicans. It's not left versus right. It's not black versus white. It's about them who are the elites versus all of us. Because when we rose up in 1776, we're here in the Boston Common. We're not over at Charlie Baker's house. Some misleaders say we should go to Charlie Baker's house and protest there. We're not at that corrupt state house. We're here because this is a Boston Common. It's the common for the common folk like all of us. We don't beg. This movement does not beg anymore. We don't beg to misleaders. We do not beg because we cannot afford to beg anymore. We cannot afford to choose the wrong leaders. We can't do that anymore. And those wrong leaders are lawyers, they're politicians, they're lobbyists, they're the Kennedys. I don't care which Kennedy you talk about. They're all misleaders, all of them. And I can tell you that the politicians right in this state, be it Marty Walsh, a Democrat, or Charlie Baker, a quote-unquote Republican, they've all misled us. They want race war. They want sickness. They want war. And I'll tell you, to this date, 3 years ago on these same steps, on August 19th, a couple of days before this, 2017, I was here, 40 of us, facing 40,000 people. Do you guys know that? It was called the Boston Free Speech Rally. And at that Boston Free Speech Rally, myself and 40 other young people and working people came here to defend one of the most important principles that makes this country great. That's called freedom, the First Amendment. The First Amendment. And those 40 people, we came here because we felt that amendment must be always followed, whether it's left or right. So a lot of speakers were invited. And it was a week after Charlottesville, but the week before, Charlie Baker and Marty Walsh, who was running against a black African-American for mayor, and Mr. Baker, who was running against a Hispanic, decided to deem our free speech rally a white supremacist Nazi KKK event. Me, I'm a white supremacist, I'm a Nazi, I'm a KKK, a guy who has experienced racism across 2 continents. I experienced racism in the complete extremes of racism in India and in the caste system, where we were considered nothing. We were supposed to only pick coconuts. And then racism here, but not among white working class people in New Jersey. I experienced racism right here in Cambridge, Massachusetts, in the 1 mile radius among the liberals around Brattle Street. That's who are the racists. The ones who plant Black Lives Matter signs, but don't give a damn about black people. They don't give a damn about black people. I'm talking about the liberals of the Boston Globe, who's out here taking pictures. A nice woman. I'm sure she's a good person. But the Boston Globe, John Henry, who owns the Globe and who owns the Red Sox guy, has a big Black Lives Matter sign. But that John Henry made sure that I wasn't allowed on the debate stage when I ran against racist Elizabeth Warren and another guy from the GOP establishment. You guys remember that? I had every right to be on that debate stage in 2018. And now the GOP establishment comes and says, oh, won't you debate some fool that they've elected, another lawyer? That's what they do. You got to understand this. A primary election is the playoffs, is where they screw you. They figure out which lawyer lobbyist puppet becomes their representative on the Republican side and another fool on the Democrat side. So by the time it gets to the general elections, we're all screwed because it doesn't matter which fool wins, they always win. That's why we got to get out and vote in this primary election. That's where they screw you. That's where they screw you. They tell you don't vote. Notice none of the media is popularizing the primary. We must vote in the September 1st primary. And everyone here, look at all these people that came out within 24 hours notice. No media, we didn't do the Boston, we didn't beg to the Herald, we didn't beg to any of these guys. We did it on our own. And that's what this country is about. This country is about us. It's not about them. It's about us, we the people, we the working people. We the working people, these people, everyone here has got a job as a mother. Everyone here woke up this morning and you solved 100 problems for yourself. We didn't need the government telling us what to do. We don't need them. Because what they do is, what they tell us to do is to make sure that every action we take results in a little piece of cha-ching for them. Cha-ching for them. Right? This is no different than the old kings who gave us a little piece of land and they took 30% of what we made. Today, they take 60% when you work it all out. That's what this is about. So when we want to start talking about forced vaccinations and vaccinating our kids, 35 different vaccines, standardized 72 doses, we got to really start wondering what the hell's going on. When you're walking down Harvard Square and you see these educated people running at 98 degrees temperature, wearing a mask, you got to start wondering what the hell's going on in this country. You got to start wondering what is going on. What is going on? And when you realize what's going on is a total manipulation. It's a total irrational manipulation of people. The good thing is that this country still has working people. people with common sense, the plumbers, the electricians, the mothers, everyday people. We are not owned and run bottoms up by those people. That's why this election is not only important, but this issue of forced vaccinations. I would say it's the most important issue of our time. It's the most important issue of our time. And we here, everyone here who's showed up here on this Sunday, each one of you is a magnificent leader. You are all true Americans. You are the true representatives of what this democracy was about. So why is forced vaccination such an important issue? It's a violation of truth based on fake science. It's a violation of freedom that someone owns your body. And it's a violation of health because one size does not fit all. It's a violation of all three principles. Yet you have people over there, and we should not be protesting over. There's another protest we're going to have again next week, 10 a.m. on Saturday, 10 a.m., August 29th. But we're not going to do it like the foolish people who are going to that State House. That's what they keep doing over there, begging to those foolish politicians. You get nothing done here. What we need is thousands, tens of thousands, millions of people on this comment. We don't beg. We do not beg anymore. We don't beg the Boston Globe. We don't beg the Herald. We don't beg. We do not beg. We're not beggars. We're free people. We build a movement bottoms up. And remember, not only do we have the First Amendment, but we have the Second Amendment. We have the Second Amendment. Okay? And the Second Amendment was not about just hunting. That's right. That's right. Freedom. That's what the Second Amendment was about. The Second Amendment was about us being able to protect ourselves from an egregious government. And all those people say, well, assault weapons and this weapons. Look, this government sells nuclear weapons to our enemies. They sell nuclear weapons. They're concerned about having whatever weapon you want. It's complete hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy. And we should not take 1 inch of it anymore. Not 1 inch. No compromise. No compromise. Not 1 inch. And why can I tell you this? Because I come from you. I'm one of you. I'm one of your sons. I'm one of your daughters. I'm one of your children. I'm you, and you're one of me. And that's where leadership needs to come from. Us. Not from them. They have lost all credibility and any kind of leadership. Let's start with this forced vaccination issue. Fake science. It's based on fake science. Because what the modern biology of systems biology teaches us is something very fundamental. First of all, the body is an interconnected system. It's a system. My grandmother knew that. Small village farmer who worked 16 hours in the day, like a sharecropper, but she was a village healer. She loved God. She was a spiritual human being. And she taught me one thing, that you must always serve humanity. When my uncle became a doctor, he wanted her blessings. She said, I will not give you my blessings until you promise me one thing, that if someone comes to you in pain and does not have money, you will treat them and heal them, not asking for $1. Only after he did that did she serve him. This was not about money. Health and science were not about making money off others. But what has it become? It's become a money-making enterprise. That institute, MIT, be it Harvard, all of these institutes are now practice the oldest profession in the world. And you know what that is, okay? That's what they've become. They practice the oldest profession. You pay them enough money, they'll tell you the earth is going to end tomorrow, CO2 is a pollutant. You pay them enough money, they'll tell you that you got to take all these vaccines. You pay them enough money, and they'll tell you that you need to take your children away from parents, and so on and so on and so on. That's what's happened. And these institutions are no longer our institutions. They're owned by big moneyed interests. The Harvard School of Public Health, $400 million grant from a very wealthy Chinese family connected to the Chinese Communist Party. If you really look at this, what is science? Science is supposed to be the exploration of truth, right? You're supposed to look at the universe, you ask fundamental questions, you do experiments, you get your data, and if your data doesn't match with your hypothesis, guess what? You're wrong. It doesn't matter if your name is Kennedy or this or that, you're just freaking wrong. So you're supposed to go back to the drawing board, do more experiments. That's called the scientific method. What have they done? They've replaced the scientific method with scientific consensus. You ever heard that word? Scientific consensus is fake science. Scientific method is real science. So if you pay a scientist enough, he'll say, yes, CO2 is a pollutant. Yes, we need to give everyone vaccines. Yes, Monsanto is good for you. GMOs are safe. That's what's going on. These scientists are sellouts because in 1970, what happened in this country was science got sold out. Two major institutions, the NIH and the NSF, control all the money flow to these research scientists. And you know what? It's pay to play. You don't get to be an academic. You don't get to be a tenured professor unless you play the game. All the good guys get left on the wayside. So you have a bunch of prostitutes there who are creating science today. That's what's happened. And that's the darn truth. The Boston Globe will never write about this. They'll never write about this. The Boston Herald won't. No one will. But I will talk to you about this, and I will expose this because that is my duty to you. And that is our duty. We must expose this because the fake news behind fake news is fake science. Fake news behind fake news, fake science. Okay? Donald Trump did a service. Whether you like him or not, he did one of the most profound services in the world. He made fake news a household term. He did. He has done more in 3 years than Noam Chomsky, who wrote a big treatise called Manufacturing Consent. We all know what fake news is, but fake science is the fake news behind fake news. These are the people who lived in dark corners, who write all this stuff up, get them published, and then the stupid idiots on Wikipedia cut and paste it, which is basically fiction. By the way, it calls me a conspiracy theorist. And have locked our pages. They're going to get a big lawsuit, by the way. So, big lawsuit, okay? And we must sue these people. They must pay. They must be punished. They must be punished. So you have these fake science takes place. So from fake science, the media people don't do any research because they all get funded by big pharma, simply cut and copy, and that becomes so-called truth. But when you go back to the origin of it, the center of fake science is right here in Massachusetts. And the danger that our campaign offers to them is those words, MIT, PhD. MIT, PhD. You know why? Because a guy like me is not supposed to speak out against them. I'm supposed to have sold out all you guys. And I'm not willing to do that because you're one of me, and I will never sell you out. Never. Because I remember where I came from, and I'm a warrior for those working class people in New Jersey who taught me everything I know, and my grandparents and those people back where I came from in India. But this is my home, and we have a huge opportunity. And that opportunity, Massachusetts, is the center of the deep state. It really is. It's the center. It's the epicenter. You go in that 1 mile radius between MIT and Harvard, you have the Kennedy School of Government, which trains all the CIA folk, it does. Okay? You have the Harvard School of Public Health, which makes up policies of what's real or not about health. You have MIT, which is a military-industrial complex. Then you have Harvard Law School, Elizabeth Warren, Romney, all these criminals come out of there. Kennedy's, all of them. We are in the center of the deep state. That is why our winning this election will be like a nuke went off to them. That's why we must win. We got to win. We must win. We must win. We must win. And the way we win is we got to get conscious. We got to get politically conscious. We can't be fooled anymore. We can't go begging anymore. We can't wonder, oh, is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. a nice guy? No, he isn't. He's a scumbag. I'm sorry. He's misled the vaccine movement for 15 years.